Okay, so in this video we're going to look at how we find a fraction of an amount. I have a couple of examples here and I'm going to explain the method that we're going to use, and it's the same for each question regardless of the amount of the fraction that we're dealing with. Okay, so our first example is where we're asked to find 2/3 of 12. Okay, now you'll notice over here I've just written that there's two steps that we need to use to find 2/3 of 12. Okay, what we do is we take the amount, which in this case is 12, and we simply divide by the denominator, which we know from previous videos is the bottom number, and then whatever we get from that, we just multiply that by the numerator. Okay, so let's try that. So if I take 12 and I divide that by the denominator, so the denominator in this case is 3. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. And after that, the second step is then to multiply the amount we got by the numerator, so that's the number on the top. So I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to multiply it by the numerator, which in this case was 2, and that gives me a final answer of 8. So using that, 2/3 of 12 is 8. Okay, and that will work anytime you're trying to find the fraction amount, or indeed multiply a whole number by a fraction, because sometimes finding a fraction amount can be written as 2/3 times 12, and we'll look at that again when we come to multiplying fractions. But moving on from this, we're going to look at our second example, where we're going to find 3/5 of 20. So we'll follow the same two steps again. We're going to divide 20 by 5 and then multiply by 3. So dividing by the denominator, multiplying by the numerator. Okay, so we're doing 20 divided by 5, which is 4, and then we're doing 4 times 3, which is 12. And again, in this type of question, I'm going to point something out. We were dealing with money, so we're finding 3/5 of 20 pounds. So our final answer therefore must have the same units. So 3/5 of 20 pounds is 12 pounds. Okay, so keep an eye out in these types of questions for units, and it's also a handy thing because this type of thing, finding fractional amounts, can appear in a number of different topics throughout maths. Okay. In this question, okay, our third example, we're going to find 4/7 of 56 this time. It doesn't matter how big or small the numbers are, it's always the same method. So we're going to take 56 and we'll divide it by 7, the bottom number of the fraction. So 56 divided by 7 is 8. Okay, and again we're dealing with money, so we'll make sure to have pounds in our final answer. And we're going to take 8 and we're going to multiply it by 4. So 8 times 4, which is 32. And don't forget to have a pound sign in our answer. Alright, as you can see, it's quite repetitive. I mean, it's the same method every time we're going to be using. I'll ask you to try some questions yourself shortly. We're going to look at how we find 7/8 of 400 grams this time. Doesn't matter if it's grams, milliliters, pounds, or anything of that nature. Just remember that's the unit that goes into our final answer. So find 7/8 of 400. So I'm going to take 400 and I'm going to divide it by the denominator, which is 8. 400 divided by 8 is 50, and then I'm going to take 50 and I'm going to multiply that by 7, okay, which is the numerator. So 50 times 7 is 350, and of course it is 350 grams being the unit of our answer. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do now is to try some questions of this nature. If there's anything you're unsure about, as always, ask, and we'll carry on with some other fraction style questions in other videos.